Welcome back to DM-Nastics, the gym for dungeon masters to work out their minds. I'm one of your hosts, DM Neil, aka Jote Moniac. And I am not alone in the gym today, because with me is...
Jess Parks from I Seduce the Dragon.
So here's the deal. The way this works is we're going to go with DM Jess, aka... And now you got to fill in that blank.
AKA... can I just be Jess Parks?
I think that is a very funny answer, so I accept DM Jess, aka Jess Parks. So yes.
DM Jess Parks. Jess.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Done. And today we are going to be breaking down an article. How much have we talked about this? So the whole goal with the article breakdown is that we live in a world where every article title has the intent to just draw you in and potentially have nothing to do with the actual article.
Right.
Because websites are built in a way now that there is the likelihood that someone other than the person who wrote the article will reassess the article and retitle it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen it so much so that the URL will show you the original title because they forgot to change it. And then the title will show you the like inflammatory, basically, version of like the greatest thing. And you're so dumb if you don't do this.
We live in a dystopia.
Yeah. And so we're going to be breaking down the best D&D house rules for having funny and memorable moments. So if you don't do this, you will not have any funny or memorable moments at your table.
No funny for you.
But really, I always like looking at house rules and things like that because I feel like every table ends up doing a different version of D&D.
Yeah.
This has been true since the 70s, and oftentimes, because every home does something weird. Like you, listening to this, you do something weird at your house that no one else does. And then eventually you go to a friend's house and you find out that you're weird. You also find out that they're weird. And that's totally okay. And this happens with D&D. You'll invite someone new to your table and they'll bring something up and you'll have never heard that. Or they'll question you. So this will be the other interesting thing if any of these have been at a table that we've been at. But our first one is give NPCs an arbitrary stat to roll for. And before we do that, this is On the Gamer and was brought to us by Brendan Lizardi. And I hope that's his real last name.
Lizardi.
Yeah.
That is a pretty cool name. Is it spelled like lizard?
Yes, with an I. Lizardi.
Like a Italian. Lizardi.
Yes.
Like multiple lizards.
It is I. The Lizard.
The Lizardi.
So this one is questionable at best. So
it ranges from questionable to obvious.
Mainly because I feel like the essence of the idea I don't disagree with, and everything about
their execution
presentation is very questionable. Because quote, one of my party's favorite jokes at the table is roll for hotness prompt. So basically the arbitrary stat to roll for is how attractive is the person that you're meeting. Mm-hmm. And you roll the 1d20 and you find out. While I do appreciate that that is not something that is directly tied to charisma, because when I was originally playing, like that was a very common thing where it's like a low charisma was this inherent assumption that someone is physically unattractive. I was always of the mind, even in the earliest days, of like, oh, no. You don't need to be physically unattractive to be off-putting. I've been in the world
and vice versa. You can be quite charismatic without having a model's face.
Correct. So I never equated charisma that way. So giving that particular aspect of a character an arbitrary role, weird. Yeah. Just because I feel like that's the kind of thing I feel like it would be important for the character one way or the other. And if it's a part of them, I would just describe it.
Well, clearly, Neil, you didn't read the end of that paragraph where they said, this prompted them to start asking me how attractive they were, not wanting to decide. I rolled a d20. I just didn't want to decide because DMs hate deciding. It's fine. I'll let you finish. I have thoughts as well. Please finish yours before I...
Okay. So there are many other things that I would agree with. This is not the arbitrary stat that I would pick for my players to roll.
That's it?
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
This is 100%. It's not this one. Like,
no.
I can think of a bunch of ones that are funny.
Yeah.
One, funnier to me. And two, I think, more impactful for the story and gives me more to work with as a dungeon master.
100%. So
Yeah.
there's like the bad version of this idea, and then there is actually a good version. I think that's probably adjacent to what you were saying earlier, where you've got a suggestion and you're like, okay, and then they explain it and you're like, well, maybe not that, but there's something here. And so in this one, they have a tip at the end where they say, in any instance of, can I roll for blank can fit this? Now, we do it opposite at our table. There's in two ways. One is, yes, when comedically appropriate or not, or when appropriate, if they want to know a detail, I might ask them to roll for it, just randomly. They didn't ask me what they wanted to roll for necessarily. It was on me to inject a little bit of randomness into that moment, and it's not an ongoing thing. But we also, Neil, have in our campaign that anytime anyone's tied up with rope, we roll for sexy to see how sexy the knot is. And that has been a very adjacent to this house rule, something that definitely adds fun and flavor, but it's not the same as sort of like, it's almost insulting the way that this article puts it, that it's like, your players will never know. And it's like, well, it's not what I don't want it to be. I want it to be part of the story.
Like I said, there's so many other versions that I would do, because I think of even more interesting ones, like how rich are they?
Sure. Yeah.
Like just arbitrarily.
And then you might roll insight. And that's the other thing, that a lot of this, it just fits into the stats, which we'll get into going forward. But, there's very few things that I can't find a stat to be appropriate for. And then we're trying to negotiate which stat they can use, right? So because they want to set themselves up for success, and now they're a little more engaged in it. So there's a little bit of wriggle room, I think.
Yeah, and I think it goes in conflict with like something that I'd started to say quite a bit. If there's part of your NPC that doesn't directly affect the narrative that you're using, there's no reason that the players can't decide. So if there's an NPC and they're just a blank box, if you will, there's nothing for the players not to decide their name, not to decide what species they are, not to decide a bunch of things about it. Now, that said, if the NPC they're meeting is the prince that they need to continue the story with, I don't think it's probably appropriate that they decide all of those things, because it's important to the actual story you're telling. So, but I also don't know that I'd have, maybe they roll because that's more fun and you don't necessarily have the players that are comfortable doing that. But I don't know, I just haven't picked.
I asked my players if we have any house rules that they enjoy. Would you like to hear the list?
Oh, okay. Yes.
Okay. So the first one is the roll for sexy. Specifically, I don't know if this counts as like house rules. They're more of like home brews for a character, but I gave a character who is a demigod. She has a divinity stat. She gets a little bit extra divinity, and then we do stuff with that stat. So she actually has a literal extra stat on her sheet, which everybody enjoys. She also has special death saves that respect her particular backstory. We have the couple that is married. If they do couples therapy, they get the benefits of ceremony renewed.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because we've got the couples therapy episode. So if they do that again, then they can have their plus 10 to AC or whatever it is. Plus 5 can't be plus 10.
Yeah. I was like, nope, not 10.
And then another one that they discovered, which they said, and I had forgotten about, but it sort of arose out of, I don't want to say conflict. It arose out of disappointment, which is to say we are all adults with lives that are full, and we play our game every week or every other week when we're mid-season. So sometimes we'll get to a point in the story where the player can't remember what they know, like a detail that they want to, that is relevant to the moment. And it is not my responsibility to make sure that they know it. So I started to notice that they were getting kind of frustrated with themselves, not with me. Nobody thought that I should, but that's not the kind of game I wanted to play. I don't want to play a game where we're rolling to remember stuff. So I basically sent a note to all of them and I said, look, here's our situation. We are adults. If at any point any of you forget something about your own history, just ask me and I will tell you. There's not going to be, I'm not going to try to stress you out about it. And if I am, then you'll roll for it. But like either way, there's not going to be any punishment for forgetting any details of this game at all. And that took a tremendous weight off of them. And they were able to show up a lot more present and have a lot more free fun when they knew that they weren't going to be disappointing me as the DM or forgetting something that will be important, because it'll make them feel like they're not doing a good job.
I like that, because if you insert yourself as the character, okay, it took me a second. I was like, why do I remember watching something that dealt with that?
Oh.
I started watching a bunch of creepy anime. This is not important to the story, but that's what
I'm curious.
Okay, so I started watching all the Junji Ito stuff.
Oh, yes.
I enjoyed it.
Not the Netflix one.
The Netflix one?
Netflix did a Junji Ito inspired anthology that is horrible. It just does horrible stuff to the art. Is that what you watch?
Oh, so yeah. No,
Oh, yeah.
no, everything is one on Crunchyroll. So yeah, no, I have no idea. I have no idea what you're talking about. Okay. So that's good news for me, and I will avoid it. I really enjoyed it, but there is a point in one of those stories where a person is falling asleep and then coming back, but they're only there for like brief moments. But then in their dream, they've been gone for like this exponential amount of time. And so then when they're arriving back and then having a discussion, basically they're in a hospital, they're having this discussion, they're trying to remember everything, and they can't. And so it's that same thing. It's like, that's not fair.
That's not fair. It's just not fun. It's actually fair. It's just not fun.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All that to say, okay, we got a few more. So we'll crank through these last ones, because I feel like that's going to be the one that hung us up the most.
Yeah.
What is our second one that I think is very interesting?
Make books a real thing. Very interesting to you, huh, Neil?
Yeah.
Basically what this one is an example. It's more of an example that they made the whole rule, but basically they're like, oh, to give my players something to do in the downtime, I give them books to read, and the books have punny titles, and when they read a book, they get a different bonus. Sure. I guess if your players have downtime like that, we just don't take resource building time in my campaign. But yeah, if you're going to do that, I think you should make it interesting and beneficial. Agree.
How is this not just like the magical items that do that? These are just magical items.
Oh, you're coming
like
from a
second edition.
you know this game much better than I do.
Sorry. Yeah. So since like second edition plus, like it's the Tome of Intellect. So it's one of the few ways, like in early editions, that you could. Side note, sorry, early edition, wonderful show. Everyone should watch it. It's impossible to stream. Guy gets a newspaper a day early. But you only way you could boost your stat was just read a book.
Mm-hmm.
And it would take you a very long time to read that book. And then if you lived long enough, 100 years later, you could read it again and learn those things over and get another boost to your stat. But it was basically the only way you could boost your stat in game.
Wow.
Because you weren't getting feats the same way you weren't. So other than magical items to permanently boost your stat, that was it. It was these books.
Yeah. Hardcore.
So yeah. So yes, no, all of it. I would just say go look at Draw Steel, because it changes what constitutes treasure, because it gives you more things to do during your downtime that are akin to this. It gives you resources to say, hey, here's how you're building this during your downtime, making potions, doing all of these things.
I feel like when I read this example, because it is very much a book focused suggestion, it looked so boring to me. I would never choose it as a player. I would never be like, I'm going to read books. I mean, and I played a bookish wizard. It didn't strike me as a very interesting way or creative way to be spending the time. And also, like, let your players tell you, and then boost up whatever they want to do.
Yeah. The only way you could turn it up further is if you're giving it as like a high end reward, because you're trying to subvert expectations on treasure. And so you're giving these books as a way to potentially give a feat where otherwise you wouldn't get one, to give like a skill bonus where otherwise you can't get one, to say like, hey, you read the manual of sleight hand. You can give it a better title and you can give it something more interesting. But in essence, here, just for your character, is the manual of sleight hand.
Yeah.
When you read it over the neck, basically, when you level up next time, because you've been reading this book between now and then, you'll get a +2 forevermore on sleight of hand checks.
Mm-hmm.
Done. Great. That's a cool way to make treasure more interesting than just the next plus on your weapon.
Can I ask you a question? Where does house rules end and homebrew begin? Because I feel like homebrew is a much larger category than house rules.
I would say what I just did, because I made a magic item, is probably more what people would consider homebrew, whereas house rules are going to change the mechanical structure of the game, whereas homebrew are going to change the individual pieces. So if I change the way that like a class, like if I create a custom subclass, homebrew, monster, homebrew, things like that, people will probably consider more homebrew, whereas house rules are, I do initiative differently. I do I do my crits differently. That's a house rule, which I do. I do max damage +1 roll for my crits at my table. So those were more considered house rules opposed to homebrew.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Or like take a healing potion as a bonus action,
which is codified in 5.5. But because of that, what both the GM Tim and I do now is then if you want to take a full action, you get maximum HP from the healing potion. So rather than being quick with a bonus, you'll roll because maybe you don't get all of the healing potion. But if you take your full action economy, if it's 4d4 plus 4, then you'll get 20 out of it rather than potentially 8 as your bottom end.
I'm going to steal that, Neil. I'm going to steal that.
Side note, I didn't even edit that. I did all that math in time.
Yep.
Great job.
Can confirm. Good job, everybody.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like a lie now that I said it out loud. It's all right, though. This one I like. This next one I'm in for because I know what it's meaning. I don't think it tells me I don't think it quite lands what it's meaning for, but make something mundane a mechanic. Yes, because what it's basically saying is that when someone, it goes immediately counter to everything you said moments ago, because that level 13 wizard just failed to check to remember an NPC's name. So, oops. But also, 2 characters might need to roll a charisma contest to ensure both of you go for the high 5 and not that awkward 1-5s and the other handshakes mess.
This is playing D&D.
Yeah. So, yeah, if something happens, they're like, I want to do this. And you're like, okay, roll for it. That's what that is all day. All day. Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
Moving on.
Yeah, I do it all the time. If they ask to do something weird, then I will make them roll for it and we'll see if it goes well.
No. I'm sure somebody needs to be told because if they wrote it, they thought it was useful information. So they needed to be told.
Okay. I will concede the point that the nuance to this is when. That's all. You're right. Knowing when to do this is probably the only thing.
Yeah.
I do it on a very regular basis just because with the right table, they're going to ask all the time. So yeah. What do we got?
Next.
Yep.
Next, it suggests roll for flavor profile. And I think this is great if you have a campaign where people are frequently eating anything. Roll for flavor just seems to be exactly the same thing as the first one. Am I wrong?
No.
Okay, cool. Yeah. All right. So we've covered it.
So this is, again, it has to be a campaign where someone cares. And you only need one player to care. And then it's all in. This right here could encompass everything else we've talked about because you have one player who deeply cares about cooking and they want it to be a part of the game. And then everything on this list that we've talked about has to get folded into your table 1000% because they want it. And they've told you they want it because they're like, I have a cooking skill, which isn't a thing, but now it's a thing, which means you're looking for flavor profiles, which means you're rolling for mundane things. So yes, but if no one cares, which is totally fine because I don't eat at a lot of my tables. No. They're not eating anything.
It's just so subjective, right? Like we have rules for snow in our winter campaign. And on top of that, your players are subjective, right? You have a whole session 0, which is never going to be the same for any group of people. So take into account your audience. Your audience is the players in front of you and what will bring them joy. Ultimately, what do they like? What did they suggest as a joke? And then you make it a house rule. That's actually, where our stuff comes from.
Which perfect segue. It's like you're a professional, because the next one is let every player make one rule about the world.
Oh, except I hate that.
Oh, okay. So the next one is anti-charisma checks. No, I'm just kidding.
I just mean, no. Players don't get trusted with the rules.
Okay, that's not a rule. So this goes back to the question you asked me. So maybe no to the thing, yes, probably to the post. No to the title, yes to the post.
Okay.
Because I don't know that I want them to make a rule about the world, but if they're helping me add their stamp to homebrewing the campaign and world that we're in,
world building,
I'm a lot more on board with that. And that's what is being displayed to me. Because, for example, this is a quote, for example, in a past campaign, we jokingly established that each day was 30 hours instead of 24. That's not a rule. That's homebrewing the world together. And that's a very different thing. And that's something I'm way, way, way more on board.
Yep. Agree.
Yeah, all day. And you decide that the species is underwater instead of on land, and that doesn't affect it doesn't directly affect the narrative that I have, and now I think that's cool and changes everything I do. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, play D&D.
Or one game had an everyone has a knife rule. That's not a rule.
It's kind of a rule.
It's not a rule. That's a homebrew. Okay. Anti-charisma checks.
All right. So the next one is anti-charisma checks, which is essentially for a stat when you want to roll low for a success. That's all it is. Here they've sort of narrowed it down to, what if there's a scenario where being low charisma is actually how you win? So do an anti-charisma check. Roll as low as you can. Have I got that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I think that if you haven't thought of that yet, it's a very fun thing to play with. Like in this instance, you want to roll low. I'll give you an example. One of my characters lost an eyeball, picked it up off the ground and put it in his pocket. And then in a few minutes, he said, "It's in my pocket." And he pats his pocket. And I said, "Roll for strength." And all of them cringed. It was lovely. And I said, "You want to roll low. Otherwise, you're crushing that eyeball." Thankfully, he did.
Because especially if your charisma was low enough, you would potentially get a negative on the roll.
One of our characters has a -2 to wisdom, so she rolls negative all the time.
All right. I'm on board. I think it'll be tough to navigate at times, I think, because it's not going to work in every space and place. So I don't think this can be a all the time kind of thing. I
also don't think it's a house rule. It's just the rules. It's just a different way to ask for a check.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's definitely a place and time.
Okay. This one I'm on board with. Discount and defective magic items. All day.
I was not on board and then I got on board.
It's just cheap stuff that doesn't work the way you think it does. I'm a big fan. So it was bad magic items. This is a long time ago. And the ones that always stuck out to me were the Ring of I Could Eat, where you're not going to die, but you're kind of hungry.
All the time.
The potion of kind of invisible. And so you don't have stealth, but you have advantage on intimidation checks because it's just your skin that went invisible.
That's horrible. I love
Stuff like that.
And I love it. I think this touched on my knee-jerk reaction when I read this one was this is a terrible idea. And then I started living with it and it's not so terrible. The reason I thought it was a terrible idea is because I think there's a set of things that are potentially fun, but if they introduce a level of challenge that the player wasn't prepared for, can have the opposite effect. So if they find an item that they're like, "Oh my God, yes." And you're like, "Great, but it's broken." Sometimes they're not going to be like, "Wow, now I get to figure out how to fix it." They don't have fun. So you do have to key into your players and make sure that they're in the right space for you to nerf that cool thing they just got.
Yeah, because the example here is that it's an alchemy jug that can only make mayonnaise.
Presumably you know that before you bought it for 10% of the price. That's totally fair.
Okay, that means we done
What?
did it. Okay, is there... I mean, we talked about house rules. Yeah, we talked about our own house rules. I mean, these were interesting.
I liked it. You are less excited about it than I am, I think.
Because the title was The Best D&D House Rules for Having Funny and Memorable Moments. That's what was presented to us.
And you didn't have any funny? No memorable?
I mean, I don't know. That's why we go through these things. I think there's stuff to take away, as with every article. And there's stuff to leave right where I found it.
Very much.
But with that, if you enjoyed this episode, which I know you did, you can go over to your podcatcher of choice. Mine, as always, is wearing a pair of overalls with a giant net catching pods. And you can leave us a rating and review. And of course, you can email us at dungeonmasterblock@gmail.com and let us know the house rules or homebrew that you've been doing. And of course, a huge thank you to the bards over on Bombarded for our intro and outro music. You can find whatever they're doing at bombardedcast.com. But rather than let these mental gains go to waste, let's head to taking your supplements. Taking your supplements! One thing we do every year, and we fail miserably at this, is that we talk about something related to Halloween too late. And so, I'm being honest.
That's great.
It's like, hello, it's late October, Halloween stuff. And it's like, who's this for? Somebody next year, because it's not for this year. Everyone does it. I see it all over the place.
Halloween in July.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean, though, because it's like you don't have time to prep what I just gave you. Not at all.
It is never too soon to start preparing for Halloween.
So, in that vein, you have...
Oh, I have to tell you about this book, this module, this adventure that I got a chance to play. It's called The Final Seance. It's a tabletop adventure, and you play as literally yourself. All the players play as yourself, so there's no character creation. They wake up in a haunted house, and they have to get out. And that's basically the premise of it. It's got all these different rooms that you can organize in different patterns for different sizes and different lengths of how long you want to play. And I found it to be just the right blend of structure for new players to be able to know what they're supposed to do next, and openness to leave space for improv and all of their weird, wacky new player ideas. So I had a blast playing this game. I would do it again. 10 out of 10 would recommend. Might even incorporate it into my podcast.
That's what I was going to say. It's a fun, interesting way to have a Halloween one-off.
Totally.
Where they just wake up and that's where they are. And it can just be a dreamscape. It can be however you flavor it in your world, your campaign, your setting to make it happen. And the fact that it's called Beauregard Manor, that's just a fun name for me. I just love saying Beauregard. But yeah, it kickstarted not that long ago, and shout out to them, because I can see when that Kickstarter ended and I can see that it's in your hand, and that is an achievement. Shout out. So I will spend some time, and basically I'm going to ask Jess to ask the person who made it to give me the best one, and you'll find that in the show notes. So, but with that, we're going to turn out the lights and head out of the gym. But before we go, I want to implore you, the listener, to join the forums, the Discord, and anywhere else you can find us on social media. But if we're being honest, I usually don't actually recommend that. You know what? Delete it. Go on your phone, find the social media of choice, and delete it. And then walk away.
Yes. Don't find us. Don't find anyone.
No, leave your podcatcher, delete the social media app, and have a better life.
Did I tell you I don't go on Instagram anymore? My brain is so improved. I am never on social media, and it's amazing.
That's good. I need to back out. But yeah, you can go there and have other amazing conversations, but especially the Discord, because we're trying real hard to make that happen. And the Discord is the proper amount of surly, because when I do polls, they work together to make them even. And that's very funny. So go there, join them.
To do that, head over to bit.ly/DM banter and try some DM-Nastics so your players don't ask, do you even lift?